Alright guys, what's going on? We've got the second war of Season 26 here, and today 4Loki is going to be facing SAS. This is going to be a pretty good war. We have a lot of friends over there. Obviously, Dreamin's over there now. J-Nick just joined them from the MCoC podcast, and he also makes war videos. Very, very nice guy. So I'm joining this war a little bit later than usual, so I don't have their full, defense, but at this point, it doesn't really matter a ton. The war map has been the same for a long time, and pretty much everybody knows where, the meta placements are. If there's ever something that stands out quite a bit, I'll point it out, but in the meantime, I mean, none of this really matters. So, MCoC, I guess, is, kind of interesting on the kinetic transference node. That's just Human Torch, though. We have another Mojo boss, and then we also have Weapon X on the Stunning Reflection mini, and I'm actually going to be quaking that later in the war. So it's kind of an interesting fight, in my opinion. I don't think we had really seen it before, but now I know for sure that it can be quaked. I tested it in the off-season. And I usually skip over my boosts. I'm going to try not to do that as much this war. When I remember, I'll try to record myself boosting. But I have a 20% boost on. I have a class boost on that was getting ready to expire within the hour. Just in case I threw a special against this guy. And then also a combat regen boost because I'm going to be using Quake. And when I run full suicide, she loses just a ton of health. So this is Aggression Fury. Rank 3 moleman. This is pretty good placement in my opinion, unless of course you're using Omega Red or Apocalypse, in which case it is, just going to be super easy. You don't want to block hit him, but if you're not using somebody who is going to prevent him from shrugging stuns, the block damage could get pretty crazy, so... but no big deal for Omega, that fight's down. Moving up here to Magik, this is the reason that I'm using the combat regen boost in the first place. So normally with a 20% boost on and full suicides, I can anticipate losing 20% of my health. But in this fight, I'm going to lose 7% of my health instead, as long as I don't mess up. And this is pretty good placement for Magik, kind of, if Quake didn't counter her so easily. Because it has power alternator, so if that pushes her above a bar of power, you're going to take limbo damage. And then it also has power focus 1. So, Juggernaut used to be placed here during Stubborn days, and I thought that was pretty good placement as well. But Magik is unaffected by the global, Quake is unaffected by the global, so that fight is going to go down super easily. And then next up here, we're just going to share some energy and move up to our second section fights, which is going to be Path 3. This path is really easy, just in general, especially with Omega Red. So Venom is here. I guess I do think this is better placement than Colossus on this node, because the buffs that he gets are completely random. And he's a little bit more difficult to Quake because his animations are just so all over the place, and his AI is also really kind of annoying. So here I'm just trying to build up spores. There's not a ton to say about this fight. I really don't like his animations. Seems like it's hard to get out of the way of his medium attacks. But he kind of starts playing along at the end of the fight, and he's going to go down in 40 seconds, so not a big deal at all there. Next fight I'm going to be taking here is going to be Thor Ragnarok. This is Buffet, and the strike counter combat power rate or something like that, so this is not a difficult fight. I did remove dexterity just to be extra safe. But it's honestly not necessary, if you're taking this fight. I think Magneto could take this fight, and I did do it in a duel, and my 3-star Omega with no Sabertooth synergy was able to get down a rank 3 6-star in like 18 hits, I think. So I know that I can get this done in under 20, which is the goal. And that's the main reason that I removed Dex for this fight, is just because if he regens, I'm not sure if I would be able to get to my special attack in time to cancel out his power gain, like if it came down to that. But it doesn't, no big deal. So this is going to be JNX Guillotine 2099 on Vigorous Assault and like Enhanced Recovery. This fight is, I mean, there's almost nobody that you could put here that would be like super difficult. I think that the best placement I've seen is Cable, and he can also be quaked, so I do think that Guillotine 2099 is pretty good on Chitinous Thorns. I don't think she's great on this node though, and I think it's kind of wasteful to put her on defense. She will almost never get a kill, especially on a node like this that can be quaked so easily. So yeah, there's not a ton to say about this fight. I would have sped it up, but it's like under a minute, so there's really no point. And I've kind of been thinking lately about doing like a live stream and kind of like answering questions about how to Quake. I've had some people ask about like making a video, and I think that it's kind of a tough thing to make a video on. Like I've seen people do it like where they record their hands. I've seen people do it in a few different ways, and none of it really helped me a ton when I was trying to learn how to use Quake. So either way though, that fight goes down. This next fight is going to be a rank 3 6-star Weapon X on Stunning Reflection. So this is a node that you can't use Quake for, like ever, unless the opponent places a stun immune champion on this node, which they did. So if you're going to use Quake for this fight, you can only do it with, again, a stun immune opponent. And against Weapon X, what you want to do is you want to hit him up until he gets to a special 1. Bait the special 1, that gives him enough charges to go into his berserk mode, and then every time that you evade him, he's going to get more of his berserk charges. So you can see that like little red dial up in the corner next to his picture keeps going up every time I evade, and he's so aggressive that, you know, you're going to be evading so much he will never not be stun immune in this fight. So yeah, you can totally Quake him here. It's not something that I knew about actually up until recently, but I did test it in the off season, and yeah, not a huge deal. So he is really aggressive. That's the one thing to watch out for when you're Quaking this guy just on any node, is that when he's unblockable, he is very, very aggressive, so you're not going to get very many aftershock charges on him. But it also makes him a lot easier to fight with other champions, so a champion like Warlock or Magneto or something, if you can't Quake him, you know, his aggressiveness makes him really easy to intercept. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer fight. It was the only fight this war that I was concerned about, just because, you know, again, I had tried it once in the off season, but this guy's just scary to Quake. You know, if he gets you, he hits pretty hard, he'll bleed you, put you in assassin range, and kill you. So looks like it should just be one more cycle. And again, I am thinking about doing like a live stream where I kind of go over how to, you know, Quake, doing like the heavy deck style. So that fight's over, and then this is the fight in the war that I was least concerned about. And this is going to be a Hitmonkey, rank 3 6-star, of course, on Brute Force and Spry. Either way, oh, and Limber. So I have a white Magneto pre-fight on here, which against Hitmonkey completely messes up Omega's spacing. So I'm never going to have very many spores on him. And I decided before the fight that I was not going to knock him down. So I'm just going to hit him to death. It's not a huge deal. But you're going to see that I'm not sure if it's me making a mistake in this fight or, you know, just kind of like a weird interaction. But I'm going to get hit. You guys know that I can evade his special one. So right here, I'm going to go to bait out his special one. And I'm going to back up like I always do. And then I'm going to go to back up again. And as soon as I let off block, it didn't feel like he should have made contact, but he did. So just to show it in normal motion. So normally I let off block, and then so that I can swipe back on the last hit of his special one. Didn't work out, so I got kind of spooked. I was kind of scared for the rest of this fight. I am under 50% health. Luckily the brute force damage on this node is really like insignificant because I have class advantage. But either way, fight's over. Did take two big crits in that fight. Luckily I was boosted pretty heavily. And that's actually going to be my last fight of the war. So 7 fights this time, which is, you know, for me that's pretty good. I usually average around like 5 or 6 fights a war. So I was super happy to get an extra 1 or 2. But yeah, so we did end up losing this war really badly. We had a couple of we had some bad fights and we had some definite mishaps. So, you know, kind of frustrating to do so poorly. Last war I felt like we had done, you know, definitely not our best, and we did better than we did in this war. I think that this is like the worst war we've had in a couple seasons. But so hopefully we can kind of pick it up and get it together. I know a couple of our deaths were like disconnects and connection issues, but you know, it's definitely not an excuse. SAS outplayed us. They were ahead for the entire war. We basically gave it away like in the very beginning. So that puts us at 0 wins and 2 losses for the season so far. And yeah, basically we were kind of talking about it afterwards, and I have a feeling that, you know, almost anyone that we face in Masters, I'm not sure that you're going to be able to win with over 5 deaths, which again is just, you know, another reason that I hope that the war map gets changed at some point, because every death feels really, really bad. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.